understand what is the purpose of creating or transforming this space. Once you understand that, it becomes very easy to put down your ideas. Conviction is what is most important. Integrity is very important. And I think if that is there, sky's the limit. I always believe one thing, Vipul, that you have to always dream big, because even if you fail, you will fail big.
When you go for urban growth, there is a certain amount of cost that you have to pay on the ecological side of things. And the second question is, can tradition and innovation coexist in urban design?
Both these questions are backbone of the future, the way the cities are going to develop.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Business Networking with Vipul Bondal. I have a very special guest today. I think she's a one of a kind, or one of very few people in India who's into this business and probably reached the levels that she's reached. So please allow me to introduce Dr. Aseem Gokarn Harwansh. I hope I have pronounced it properly. Uh, she's a doctorate in urban landscaping. I'll read the profile just as she has sent me. She sent it to me in first person, so I'll read it in first person. She said, I'm a hortitect. Okay, as we design tech-enabled spaces with a blend of horticulture and architecture. I'm a nature-based solutions specialist working in the field of horticulture, landscape, and sustainable environmental solutions since the last 26 years. Identifying and creating distinctive, responsive, and sustainable design solutions, mitigating negative changes and deterioration are the core of my professional projects. She has worked on creating biophilic and biodiverse environments in 26 cities and 8 states of India like J&K, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Gujarat. She has been twice appointed as a member of the prestigious SEAC3 committee appointed by the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India, as an expert for environmental assessment for projects in Maharashtra as per the Gazette notification in January 2021 and June 2024. She is also a co-executive director of BNI in Navi Mumbai, built a community of 700 plus entrepreneurs, totally closing a business of 1900 crore together. She was a keynote speaker at the Mysore Members Day in 2019. Now, this is really interesting. She is the first Indian in 100 years to present at the International Society of Arboriculture in August last year in Atlanta, USA. That's really fabulous. Her topic was, her panel discussion was People, Trees, and Climate Action, a Global Perspective. She has also been selected now to represent India at the International Federation of Landscape Architects in France, where she's going to talk about cities as an ecosystem. We all know the uh, difference that is happening with climate change and all of that. And Aseem has a lot of experience as an expert in that field. So, let's not waste more time in hearing me talk, but let's talk straight to our guest. Aseem, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Vipul. Pleasure being here.
Okay, so, if you can please tell us what the word hortitect means. I mean, that was a little, something that fascinated me as well as left me thinking. But I said, anyways, I'm going to have a chat with you in the next couple of days. So I said, let me ask you what hortitect means.
So Vipul, we hear about architects, we
Right.
hear about horticulturists, right? And we hear about technologists. But I think over the years, I've been in this field for more than 27 years, and I've been actually nature schooled. So, if you go back, maybe 40 years more that I've been working in this field, we've always tried to design tech-enabled spaces with a blend of horticulture and architecture.
Right.
And one of my mentors at IIM Bangalore said, Aseem, you are a disruption and you should call yourself as a hortitect, because that is what you're practicing. So I think as a hortitect, what we do is we try to blend horticulture in the space of architecture with a touch of the latest technology that is available, and they're tech enabled. Because today is the era of technology, and you
Right.
have to have spaces that speak volumes of technology as well as biophilic space. That's what we do, and that's why I call myself as an hortitect.
Okay. So, I'm sure you're one of the very few qualified people, in that sense, right? I mean, most of the others would be either qualified in horticulture as well as or in architecture. So you're somewhere in a mix, a blend of the two. So would you
Yeah,
be one of the few practicing hortitechs in that sense?
I wouldn't actually know many. In fact, I wouldn't know any actually. I'm so
Okay.
sorry about this because I have always come across architects practicing landscape architecture
Okay.
and very few who have, but of course, having said that, Professor Bhagwat, Prabhakar Bhagwat, who is called as the father of landscape architecture in India,
Right.
he was an agriculturist. He did, in fact, I am a product of the same college.
Okay.
So he did his agriculture in this college and then he went on to practice landscape design. So, maybe fast forward several years, and then there was me
Okay.
who was a part of horticulture, and I thought that I should do something here in this field.
Okay, so you've been now practicing for what, 26 years is what you
Yeah.
mentioned, right? So, I mean, all those years ago, today, I mean, I can imagine, somebody saying, I want to become an architect. It might be an easier decision for parents to, allow their children to do that, or even for the children themselves to probably take up that profession. But back then, I mean, with so much of uh, I mean, knowledge not being there. I mean, how did you end up becoming a architect? I mean, how was the decision? Can you just walk us
So,
through your early days?
yeah, so actually, like I said, I was born in Mumbai, but
Right.
most of my time was spent on our farm where we had a private tissue culture laboratory started by my father way back in the 80s. That itself was a very visionary thing to do because
Right.
not anybody realized that tissue culture could be possible at that time. And today you have even MBA in biotechnology.
Yeah.
I think we were ahead of a time at that those many years ago.
Sure.
And so technology was always a part of my being. And the blend of horticulture along with architecture was what I grew up with. And I proudly say that I was nature school because I actually grew on a farm of 15 acres. I have seen a small sapling of 6 inches grow into a mighty tree of 40 to 45 years. And not one or two, but lakhs of trees, that made this 15-acre farm so beautiful that it is today. From what it was when we started with it, we had only 5 trees of mahuas, which we had
Ah,
to buy from the Adivasis and tell them, please don't cut these trees. Okay. So I think this journey, where I witnessed how, and if you know, this Vada Mukhara area is a very tribal drought prone area. So the temperatures really soar up very high and it was extremely hot. As a child, when we used to go there, it was extremely hot. The climate was very harsh.
yeah.
Water was always scarce. But as this entire place transformed, we could see visibly notice the changes in the climate out there. We had our own small microclimate,
Right.
and it was all inbuilt within us to protect the plants, to run and do rainwater harvesting. I mean, today you speak about rainwater harvesting. We
Right.
we used to do it when I was 8 or 10 years old, and all those little things, composting or growing your own crop. So it was all a part of growing up. I mean, I
Right.
it was a part of my evolution. And then when I kind of I had got some good marks in my college, in my 12th grade, and my sister had gone for electronics engineering. That was, I think, the era of electronic engineering that had
Correct.
started.
Correct.
So everybody thought that I'd go for medical.
Mm.
One daughter is a doctor and the other is an engineer. But
Yeah.
I think my dad and me, both of us, sat down And somewhere I thought that I was responsible for this entire legacy that my dad has started. And maybe, I should opt for horticulture because through that I could bring in a lot of value to the space that we had evolved in. And that's when I went for horticulture. And I always wanted to do my landscape architecture as my master's, but by the time I graduated, the intake for students to do landscape architecture from the field of horticulture was stopped. uh,
Oh,
and I was again back to square one. I didn't know what to do, but I was very fortunate. I was, sometimes you manifest things and
correct.
they happen. So I think I have been very fortunate in this respect because I got to work with very good landscape architects even when I was studying, and that gave me a sense of space, urban planning, design. And I think being a natural artist, that came in. And because we had built our own 15 acres of farm, we had built our own homes, our own swimming pools, the little sheds. So somewhere that sense of space was always present. And,
Right.
and then I did my PhD in this field and started working. I was actually called as a Pada Likha Madan. I mean, nobody actually realized what I was talking about because after you study a field, there were no girls. First and foremost, we were just two girls in the college. So college itself was kind of a dreadful experience because
Yeah.
it was a little different, and it was a very tough life. Even when I finished my graduation, I remember went back. I went back to the farm, and me and my husband stayed there for 5 years.
Right.
And I think it was all a part of evolution. And I realized that if I have to do anything in the cities, I can't grow my vegetables here like I do in the farms. But I
Right.
can definitely grow trees, I can definitely grow plants, and I can definitely bring down the temperature and all the good things that we've experienced there. And that is how my journey started.
Okay. Can you walk us through some of your successful professional projects? I mean, some of those that you designed. I'll ask you about a few when we get to those. But if you can, the ones which are close to your heart, and that you loved working on, and so if you can walk us through some of those.
I think I've been, like I said, every project is so beautiful, when you work passionately into it, because every project has a very different aspect. You
Yeah.
cannot copy paste anything in
Correct.
landscape, right? Because you will never have a land which is identical in all respects.
Correct.
So
That's
every project is very challenging, but you need to understand what is the purpose of creating or transforming this space. And I think
right.
once you know that, once you understand that, it becomes very easy to put down your ideas. So
Right.
all my projects are very dear to me, whether it is a small bungalow or it is a factory that we designed about 687 acres.
Yeah.
A few projects that I would like to mention at the initial starting of my career
Correct.
was, we did the entire beautification and for the Shivneri Fort.
Okay.
And everybody, as when you talk about restoration, you talk about the four walls of the fort.
Yeah.
You Anything to do with restoration always talks about the building, the architecture, but what happens to the land around it? And if you look at the land is so many square feet more than the particular fort itself, or
Yeah.
the particular structure itself. And then nobody looks at how that can be, conserved. So I
Correct.
think my first uh, tryst with this took place because I was working in the Gold Forest Division, and we had to actually, understand why there were forest fires,
Right.
identify the species, take them out, think about putting regenerative species because nobody's going to actually go on planting new trees every now and then.
Yeah.
And the whole process started. And when I first went to this place, I saw small children without chappals walking on the hot basalt. Because everywhere around, children used to come there to see the Shivneri fort because it was the birthplace of Shivaji Maharaj.
Yeah.
And it didn't have any greens, any chaya, any shade. It was
Oh.
such a harsh climate. So I think that was a challenge that we accepted way back in 2006 Today it stands very beautifully. I mean, people who have gone there in recent times would agree to it that it has been really conserved very well. So
Right.
that is a very project that is dear to me. And then there are a few like the river, Godavari River that we did for the Kumbh Mela, the
Okay.
2027 Kumbh Mela. Uh,
Okay.
that was also very, very challenging. I think it's one of its kind in the world because this
Right.
is a river that gets flooded, right? And you're supposed to design a landscape that is resilient to the flood, to the water flood.
Oh, okay.
And I think that really needs a lot of scientific understanding of the space, the culture, and there are a lot of compliances that need to be kept in place when you're
Correct.
designing a public space of that stature for such an important event where safety of people is very important, because it's going to be lakhs of people coming out there. So,
Correct.
how the design should be, whether if it floods, how the flood should be contained, how the contours need to, whether they need to be increased, decreased, whether you need to have ring wells, I mean, lot of these aspects. And again, it is a historic place. So, what was history? And to conserve that history, because
Correct.
you want the next generation to know that what was there before and why it is so significant. So, I think this project. So, the and one thing that I always felt was it was so hot in spite being near the river because Nasik temperatures really go very high in the summer.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to come here and learn about the history? They say that Ram and Sita stayed at Panchvati,
Yeah.
and Ram is such an important figure in our heritage.
Yeah.
So, for children to come here, you need to see that the temperature is less. How could I
Correct.
do that? How can I increase the humidity in the air? How can I get the temperature down? How can I make it? How can the water, sound of water, we played with water there. We
Correct.
made water gush down with its, it is gushing down in the white, snowy white, splashes, which looks beautiful. We had water trickling down with the little melancholy sounds that it makes. So everything was so beautifully done that, and water acts as a beautiful reflective pool, So everything was, it was one of, I think, my favorite projects because we really could explore art, science, and technology all at one place.
Fantastic. So your work primarily involves working with government bodies or government committees and so on. The typical perception about working with the government is that there's too much of bureaucracy, too much of red tape. You can't do what you want to do. You have to go with what is being told. You there's not much scope for creativity and all that. So has that?
That I do is all of a large scale. It is in the public domain. So I have no other option but to work with government bodies because
Correct.
they are the owners of such large spaces. And anything that you do want to do, keeping the public in mind, has to be through a
Absolutely.
government body. Okay, number one. Number two is this perception that we have that it is going to be very tough. I came from a Adivasi area. Okay. I had nobody. I'm the first generation entrepreneur. Okay. I had no business sense or business acumen, or, I mean, I was not trained into business.
Correct.
Okay. And I think I always work from my heart because being in nature, I think the kind of person that I am, I always feel the design first before I try to express it. So
Correct.
I think whenever you speak about your design passionately with scientific evidence and with engineering backing, that this is what is right and what is significantly going to make a difference, I think anyone, even if it is a government, they do understand. Because finally, everybody, all said and done, okay, A is you, for the kind of work that I do, I always have to meet the decision makers.
Right.
Okay? It is not the people who are just listening and executing, but people who take the right decisions, who
Correct.
understand. So they have that metal in them to understand why a particular thing is required. And
Right.
I think because of that, fortunately for me, wherever I have ventured, there have been ups and downs. I won't say it has all, because A is very few women are there in this field. This field is a very harsh field because you have to be outside. Okay, it is. When people see me today like this is my evolution. Otherwise, I was always somebody wearing rugged jeans and shoes,
Okay.
my sneakers, because that is the way we had to be,
Yeah. True.
and they so I think the experience with the government has been sometimes little tough, but they do understand if you can, make them understand why a particular thing is important.
Okay.
And I think that is the reason why I have been able to work on so many government projects, and they have added value. Like right now, I'm working on the Mumbai Devi Temple precinct.
Right.
Okay, where again, the entire purpose of the project is to create facilities for the devotees. They are kept in mind. And what would a devotee need when he comes to a place like this? What was the history of that place earlier,
Yeah.
and the entire design scape is based on how, as a public space, it can be maintained for years together. That is, there is
Right.
minimum maintenance, right? So I think once the authorities realize the need, though initially there is a struggle, but there is a struggle everywhere, I must say.
Right.
So conviction is what is most important, and I think your integrity is very important,
Right.
and I think if that is there, sky is the limit.
Fantastic. Can you elaborate a little more on the Mumbai Devi restoration project? Because I mean, it's I think going on as we speak, right? I mean,
So yeah, so it is going to be tendered very soon. But this project we were working for the last almost 2 years, two and a
okay.
half, or almost 2.5 years. So like I said, there is a temple which has given the name to Mumbai.
Right.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
is and it is a very important temple. It's a deity in whom lot of people believe,
True.
and there is a lot of crowd there during festivals. The queue goes up to the Marine Line station,
Yeah.
and people stand under those harsh conditions just to go and pay the respects to the deity. Now there are so many stories behind. Earlier, where was this temple? It was at Boribandar. Then it came here. Who is this Mumba Devi? There's a story behind. There's a legend behind this. But do we people living in Mumbai know about it? We don't know.
I don't think so.
Right? I also came to know about it because we did some research on it. Right? But these are the stories that need to be passed on to the next generation. People need to know this. Again, as a temple, if devotion, how do devotion is you would like to sit down in a peaceful environment. You would like to have the lesser temperature, a little bit of water here and there, sound of water, you know, or even basic facilities like if people are performing Havan, then whether we can dedicate a specific place for Havan. Today it is performed right in the center of the road, and the same
Yeah.
road people are walking, right? It is dangerous, and it is not in the right ambience.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Agree.
that ritual has a sanctity to it. And so what we did was we tried to give spaces for all these rituals
Okay.
within the area that was assigned to us, and we tried to create a temple garden, I would say, on the basis of a mandala vatika, because mandalas have been very keen to our heritage, uh,
Right.
right? So the whole design is a reflection of this, uh, where we took into consideration the architecture that was there in the temple and tried to, so this is not an extension per se. We have not touched the temple or its basic foundation or structure, but the
Right.
area around the place
Okay.
that was not, that is not, I would say, prominent or inconspicuous to the
True.
site was developed, and I mean is being going to
It's
develop.
being done as we are.
Yes. And then there was a Mumbadevi tank there where people used to wash their legs before. I mean, that is a normal ritual, right? Before we go to pay
Yeah.
our respects to the deity. So we tried to create those. And through the medium of stories, in fact, we have a smart sensory system there. So we
Okay.
also know if the crowd is more, then, there will be a system that will tell you that the crowd has to move now to the next place and the next place, or you have to stop the inflow, or if
Right.
it's a lone child, then you'll be able to recognize that is a lonely child there. I mean, the crowd management. So it's a very even if there's a EV vehicles, then you would know when would the next EV vehicle be available.
Right.
I think technology again, is been we tried to use smart analytics in order to empower the people who will maintain the precinct,
Yeah.
and we've kept every tree that is existing. There's a huge garden there with more than, I think, 80 trees, and those
Okay.
trees have been conserved. The design revolves around the trees. We've not kind of made a design and then said that this tree is coming in between.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
That's
a
interesting.
very fluid design, and what luck that we have huge trees already there.
Yeah.
So many people would think that this is an obstruction, but being a nature-based solution expert, I thought that this was my greatest plus point in the design, that I already have this structure. So that is, in short, yeah.
Okay. On the in the private sector also, you have worked with quite a few prominent companies. I think you're doing something with the Mahindra Group, right? I mean, are you in a position to talk about it? If yes, can you
Yeah.
tell us what you're doing?
So I must say that we work with a lot of factories. I think our factories also have a lot of area around them,
Right.
and which can be really conserved so that the people in the factory have a very happy environment. See, you are like machines, right, in a factory.
Yeah.
So Mahindra always had that feeling for their people, right? That there has to be provided a great environment.
Yeah.
And well, we work with Siemens, we work with General Motors, we work with POSCO. But Mahindra was my first large project. It's Asia's largest automobile factory,
Right.
and I was very fortunate to be selected through a competition, design competition, where I could contribute in doing the entire master planning of the design, that is 687 acres for
Yeah.
softscape. And also, we did about detailed design for more than 120 acres. And the process is still on. Because as and when they want, they are adding value, because you can't develop those many acres at one stretch.
Correct.
But it was a very beautiful experience because it was a greenfield project. They wanted it to be, they wanted to conserve the soil. The topsoil was conserved. The water potential was tapped. A gorge which was existing. It is, if you go today, you can see a beautiful lake kind of a thing in the gorge. So the diversion of the water to this place, the selection of plants was so important, because certain areas, they didn't want to have a lot of bird visiting because of the bird shit that can hamper their cars, which is their main products. But certain
Correct.
areas, they were very keen to have a lot of birds. A lot of science again involved here to understand what you must plant where, how, and even it was a complete. Like, I remember Winston Sir, an integral part of this, used to tell me, Asim, this is a moonscape. It's not a hardscape. What are you going to do in the moonscape? So there was a filling of 15, 20 feet, and we had to actually put in microbes to increase the microflora before we started the actual planting. And this
Okay.
company was ready to do all this, which I think
Yes.
is, worth praising, because they were, you know, they had this thing that it has to be good, it has to be beautiful. We need to provide an ambient environment. We have fumes coming from a particular workshop. We need to see that there is an environment that will absorb the fumes. So the whole thing was done taking all these things into consideration. And, Chakan is a very hot area. So you
Yeah.
have a little bit of green. It was like a green sea that was created. So yeah, it was, I think, one of the most challenging, one of my first, and one of the most interesting projects.
Great. Okay. So now, hearty congratulations. You're one of the. You get an opportunity to present at the International Federation of Landscape Architects in France later this year. So, and your work is called Cities as Ecosystems. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, what's your perspective on cities as an ecosystem? I mean, it
Uh,
sounds very good, but I mean, we don't know what it means. If you can just tell us what that is.
Everybody today speaks about dearth of spaces,
Right.
right? Spaces are categorized into various, like you may have community parks, you may have neighborhood parks, you may have service road and main road, you may have strips in between, which will act like buffer zones. You may have some dumping grounds, right? A city, when it emerges, it has got a lot of land that is wasteland,
Yeah.
which just lies there, which there is, because you plan it in such a, you don't know whether there is anything going to come up there, you know. And unless the city is completely new and it is completely well planned, but most of our cities are older cities which are not now getting more and more urbanized, right?
Yeah.
In such a space, it is very important to incorporate or transform these wastelands into greenlands.
Hmm.
And just by merely planting trees, it will not do justice to it.
Okay.
Okay. What, because what happens is such spaces which are neglected then become center of all unethical things happening, like I mean, trespassing and
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe drug addicts, maybe whatever, maybe not used for the right purpose, and it
Correct.
can harbor threat to the surrounding areas. So this is what you pursue, but there is also threat to the soil, okay, because they may become dump yards.
Yeah.
Okay, they may become dump yards and they may pollute the soil, which is the heart and the core of any ecosystem. So we started working on these wastelands, and we from 2015 I'm appointed as a green space consultant for the urban development department of Maharashtra, and we took 10 cities, and we worked on those cities trying to create forests. I started looking at them as forests. We call them as Amrut One. The scheme was Amrut, Atal
Okay.
Mission for Urban Transformation and Restoration.
Okay.
So it sounded so. When you talk about an Amrut One, what is it? Amrut is nectar. Amrut is,
Yeah.
if you have nectar flowers with nectaries plants, with you'll have birds, you'll have caterpillars and butterflies coming in, bees coming in. To eat them, you'll have the birds coming in, which are the highest rung of the natural ecosystem, right?
Right.
You try to create an environment, an ecosystem. You're building an ecosystem slowly, and by utilizing, and then there are various factors that need to be taken into consideration when you're doing this plantation, because where is this? Is it near a coast? Is it near mangroves? Do we need to look at mangrove associates? How is the soil? Is it on a hilly land? Will water reach these trees? Do kind of trees that we want to put over there? What
Correct.
do we need to do something about the mulch, the soil? I mean, there are so many things that need to be taken into consideration. Fortunately, in our heritage, we have been always, um, Devrai is, right? Devrai has been an integral part of our being, right? Where we protect these trees near the villages.
Yeah.
So, and then we worship a few trees. So I started bringing an idea of actually giving rise to parks that are called as Sanskriti Udyans, where you have the trees from our Sanskriti, where you write and you tell stories about these trees and how they were used, the reference to the mythological stories that are there. Or you create parks that are like healing tree grounds, where because Ayurveda is a very important part of Indian culture. And
Yeah.
so using the cultural aspect, how to deal with these wastelands and convert them into green zones that will not only capture or sequester carbon, bring down the temperature, mitigate the heat, increase the moisture, and eventually increase the rates of the properties around them.
Right.
So 2015, we started off with this. We have planted more than 100 million square feet of urban forest today, and they all are standing as a testimony in the last 10 years. And
Okay.
you really see them abuzz with people doing trails, doing activities, and of course, the property rates have definitely excelled.
Where are these? I mean, which part of
I
Maharashtra are
was
these?
under, so there were 10 cities that were given to me.
Right.
All the coastal cities like Navi Mumbai, Thane, there is Kalyan, Dombivli, then even Jalgaon, Shirdi, they were added later on,
Okay.
Ambernath. And if you go to, even on the YouTube, you'll find there's a place called as Urban Jungle in Thane, which is so
Right.
beautiful. I have pictures of how it was earlier, just a rock, but the urban jungle is so beautiful. And there are videos where people are walking and there are a lot of birds chirping. So that is the live testimony that you get. Navi Mumbai, we have done, we incorporate fruit trees. Our kids don't even know how a chiku plant looks like or how a
Right.
guava looks like, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, because I grew up, I have climbed trees and plucked fruits and eaten, and I would love my kids to do that. So
Yeah.
I try to incorporate all these aspects in the designs that we do. It's not A is use the indigenous species, exotic. If you want to use them rightfully,
Correct.
and but also use a lot of fruit species. So yeah, so that's how it is.
Great. So, I mean, do we see that there would be probably a few urban jungles in the next few years? I mean, let's say in under 10 years or so?
100%. I'm sure the government is the first thing has been very successful,
Right.
and people who have realized this are now looking at, even as a member of the State Environmental Appraisal Committee today. We are very particular in the kind of plantation that is required, and I always believe one thing, Vipul, that you have to always dream big, because even if you fail, you will fail big,
Yeah.
right?
Wait.
So you always think about doing it the best and the most magnificent thing. People may oppose, people may say, is it required? No, it's no, this is not how it is. We don't want to do this. Or why do we need to plant so many thousands of trees here? We're just cutting down 10. But, you know, I don't know if you'll plant 1,000, but if there is a regulation, you'll at least plant 100, which is important.
So looks like Navi Mumbai has been your karma bhumi as such, right? I mean, you whatever you do, you're doing in Navi Mumbai. I mean, you stay in Navi Mumbai. Your activities are all in Navi Mumbai. Your forest is in Navi Mumbai, and you're also the executive director for BNI in Navi Mumbai, right? I mean, can you walk us through that part of your professional journey?
Yeah, so BNI happened to us. I think BNI is the most beautiful thing that has happened to us, and it is one of the most beautiful thing to happen to any entrepreneur, especially if you're venturing into entrepreneurship for the first time. So, like I said, Pankaj and I, we lived on the farm after both of us were MBA graduates, because after I did my technological graduation, we always wanted to start our business, and we felt that the technology can be hired, but management should be in your own hands. So we did our MBA, and then we went on stayed on the farm, and we had our own ups and downs in business, because it was all experimentation, and it's not as rosy and nice. I'm sure every entrepreneur would say this.
Absolutely.
It's a journey of struggle, and every time you fail and you rise, right? Because there is no proper mentoring to you as an individual, right? And I think, when we do technical designs, we research and then we use it in our designs. But when you are an entrepreneur, where is the research available? I mean, there may
Correct.
be a few case studies, but do you really go and read those case studies? We don't have time for it, because
Yeah.
we're busy struggling and earning that $1 for our family.
Correct.
So when BNI happened to us, Pankaj was earlier a part of BNI, representing this category of landscape design. And then when my kids were very small, in fact, Arjun was just born, And when he whatever he learned there, whatever he did there, he actually took a lot of members across to Dubai also, where there was an inter-region conclaves and a lot of good things, and that he was noticed and
Hmm.
he was offered Navi Mumbai. Okay,
Okay.
and that's how we happened to, and we were already living here. So it was and we lived here because we had our projects in Pune, like we were doing the Mahindras, right? So
Right.
because of that, because the journey was so much that we shifted from Mumbai here, thinking that it would be more convenient to work there and we save the travel distance. But this city became our destiny, and now you see, BNI is gives you, it's a diverse community of entrepreneurs. They are
Yeah.
diverse in their businesses, diverse in their age group, demography, work, education, culture. Wow. Imagine you meet all of them at one point, and there are
Yeah.
so many little takeaways from everybody, the way they do their business. The problems in business are more or less the same. Okay, it just may be that somebody is has a problem in selling something, whereas other has a problem in selling something else, but more or less the problem's the same. So over here, what happens is you get to meet people. This is like a super B school where you are present, and you can just go upfront to a person and ask him, how did you solve this problem in your company?
Yeah.
And you are held accountable. If there's somebody who sees that you're not working, they can come up front to you and ask you, why are you not doing this? Why is your business not increasing? I think that's superb, because as entrepreneurs, we have nobody above us. We are like the whole soul. So accountability somewhere gets lost, and then there is somebody like this who holds you accountable, and you start doing it in your business. I think that really helps you. In fact, whatever I learned in BNI, I tried to put in my businesses. Today, we have a couple of more businesses now.
Yeah.
Some of them may be in line with what I'm doing, like we are now looking at capturing carbon credits and giving working in the carbon market. We are also doing something completely different, more on the management part also.
Yeah.
So all these things, this value addition to you and your knowledge, is through the business networking platform that we were a part of. And Vipul, we burnt our fingers many times. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I got BNI very late in my life. So I would want younger people to embrace, because what has happened to us should not happen to somebody else, right?
Correct.
So I think with that thing in mind, um, this platform has really, like you just mentioned that I grew to 26 cities and 8 states.
Yeah.
When I started with BNI, I was only looking at Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. Okay, I'm soon going to add the 27 city to my feather to my list in maybe by the end of this month. So how is this possible? Because everywhere there is somebody to help you, and I think that is the beauty. As entrepreneurs, we are the think tank. We need to think about our businesses, because a lot of people depend upon us. We take care of all the people who are working for us, right? So we have a huge responsibility. And if we have the right people to help us, then I think the whole process becomes not only easy but very, very enjoyable and very fruitful.
Okay, so you're also part of something called GS10K, right? I mean, tell us about that. I mean, that's fascinating. I mean, I was looking up some part of that, and you're already almost like a brand ambassador for them, or you are a brand ambassador.
So,
So, tell us how that happened, because that is also
my
another
God,
fascinating side of you.
like I said again, I think one of the best thing that has happened to me is whenever I manifest something, I do, वो एक जो शाहरुख खान का डायलॉग है ना, कि कायनात से इतनी शिद्दत से मांगो कि आपको सब मिल ही जाएगा. So,
Correct.
so GS10K just happened like this. There was some Insta ad that I just filled up, and every time I used to fill up, the form was so long that I said, "चलो कल भरते हैं, चलो भरते हैं, बाद में भरते हैं." One night I really decided, let me just get this thing going. not knowing whether I would be selected for this, right? But then Goldman Sachs is training women with a particular turnover, trying to make them better entrepreneurs in whatever businesses that they do, whether it
Right.
is managing the finance that runs their company or whether it is accelerating their growth. And this is done through IIM Bangalore and ISB. And I think, I don't know if they're doing it through anybody else. So I was fortunately selected as one of the, and I think they also had somebody like this for the first time.
Mm.
And they hold you accountable. So I think holding accountable is very, very important. And they watch your growth and they try to figure out if you're doing the things right. In fact, you know, I always felt that since I don't come from an architectural background, that is one of my major faults, or maybe not faults, maybe a limiting factor. And
Right.
though today I run a successful architectural company where all my people, my team are architects, they are masters, they've done from outside countries and also working with me. But at that point of time, I always used to feel that when I stand up, maybe, I have gone through this. I've been snubbed down by people. I've been kind of, because I don't have maybe the right architectural technologies to talk, the terms or whatever. And I always felt that kuch kami hai, you know,
Mm.
maybe I will not, maybe I don't know, maybe, that maybe was always there. But over here, when they went through my papers, when they did my analysis, when they kind of mentored me, one of my mentors said, Asim, you are a disruption. Okay. Because how many people from your background have been successful to do these kinds of projects?
Exactly.
How many of them have designed Asia's largest factories, India's first interactive children traffic training parks, done the Kumbh Mela river, done the famous temples, a fort, and we've run this again in Rajasthan. It's not only here, we've built up the landscape for the International Horticulture University Training Center. We worked in Jammu Kashmir, Kashmir's first citizen park, way before Article 370 was brought down.
Yeah.
I mean, we worked in areas when there was scare. People would not go there, but it was only the passion and the integrity that we had that we felt that we could do something. So I think GS10K has played a very important role in changing my mindset. And I think once your mindset is right, you are able to do anything and you are able to do everything, right? So I think when in fact, one of my mentors gave me this name as a hortitect. They said, Aseem, you are an hortitect. Do you
Okay.
realize that? Yeah, because I used to say that I design tech-enabled species, and I used to say all this. But one of my mentors told me this, and he always, because I was talking about designing wildlife corridors,
Mm.
okay, way back when infrastructure was not even developed, right? I mean, we have done ring wells even before ring wells became a compulsory part of rainwater harvesting program today, right?
Mm.
So I mean, a lot of things that were done and that were executed. The widget that we had, I think, was one thing that GS10K made me realize that
Right.
काफी हो and go ahead and do your best in whatever you do. So yes, I've been selected. It's a completely sponsored program. I've been selected for a couple of programs, and it was very heartening for me when they made a small film on the work I do, and when their corporate communication head called out my name on the stage, and yeah, they have uh, given me a lot of purpose, a lot of confidence that I have ventured into a very different field dominated by others. But I think I have it in me to do what is right.
Nice. I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, amazing stuff happening with you. Okay, let's come back to the main topic of our discussion, which is urban eco cities and urban development as such. So there are two questions which have come onto the community, which I can see here in front of me. I'll read them out. So I think they're fairly connected in that sense. So I'll just read out both the questions and you can then answer them. So first is from Kabir Bedi. The question is, when is it that you foresee us losing? Oh, so what? Sorry, what is it that you foresee us losing when we go for urban growth? No, that's his first question. So I think, what he's trying to say is, when you go for urban growth, there is a certain amount of cost that you have to pay on the ecological side of things. So I think that's uh, his
So,
question one. And the second question is from Siddheshwar. His question is, can tradition and innovation coexist in urban design?
wow.
I think you can take both together
I
because
think
they're kind of linked in
I
that
love
way.
both those questions because I think both these questions are backbone of the future, the way the cities are going to develop. So your first question was, can you just repeat
Can
that?
I repeat that? Okay, so
Yeah,
it says,
yeah.
what is it that you foresee us losing when we
Okay,
go for urban growth?
okay. So I think one of the strongest things why humans are different from others is because we have emotions and we express our emotions.
Right,
Right? We have the capability of expressing our emotions and we are emotionally connected to everything that is around us.
right,
Whether it is our house, whether it is a plant that we have planted, whether it is a school that we have studied. There are memories and we have emotionally connected, right? uh, there is a term called as forest bathing today, where people walk into forests because they feel relaxed and they feel very good. Now, why is this evolved? Or why were there Devrais? Or why plants were so important? Or why did we worship plants? It is all because there are certain chemical energies or chemicals that are released in the nature that affect us because we are all living beings, right?
right.
And that rejuvenate us or drop us down. I mean, imagine if you were put in a desert for days together, and then you are put up in a nice little nice jungle.
Yeah, true.
Where would you be comfortable? Yeah, in the jungle or
Obviously,
or the
in the
desert?
jungle.
The jungle, right? Why? Because there are certain chemicals that are released. Because we are all humans, we may not know how we are interacting with our surroundings, and I
Correct.
think if we do not incorporate this aspect in the way that we are growing today, this is going to be tremendous. There's going to be a tremendous loss, not only of the environment, the heat, the water, but the emotional strength of people. Yeah, because I think emotionally we are very much connected to our surroundings and to
Right,
live in a happy. There is a research done where they say that if the surroundings has a very good green area, then the amount of thefts are less, amount of suicides in that area are less, the
right.
amount of happiness quotient there is high,
Okay,
right? So why? I mean, there have been a research done on this, right? Why is it so? It is basically because all these things, there have been studies done, because I've done my research in this, I can quote about this. There have been studies done where all these things have been formulated and somebody has been studying about this. Okay. So having said this, today when we're looking at urban growth, what is it that we're looking at? We are using precast technology today,
correct.
right? To grow vertical, to grow horizontal, right? There is a possibility of incorporating the greens in whatever technology that we use. If we have the right knowledge of what is the kind of plant that is going to survive at maybe 100 feet or 300 feet or whatever height that we look at, what is the soil depth that it will require? How can we make that soil more lighter in weight so that there is no load on the constructed structure? You know,
Right,
how can the water reach there without oozing out on the walls?
right,
See, tissue culture, we were able to culture a plant in a test tube, in a small test tube, right?
right,
So imagine growing a plant in a niche in a building structure. Is it going to be tough for us? No, but we need the right kind of knowledge, and we need to be resilient enough to adapt to this technology of incorporating, seamlessly integrating the greenscape in our landscape. And I
right.
think that needs to be done. It has been done in a lot of countries, where people have understood the importance of biophilic environments, environments that help a biological person, say in this case,
Yeah.
to be at its best.
Right.
I think if that has answered your question, that is very important. And the second thing was traditions and innovations.
Yeah. So how does that coexist when you do
Okay,
urban design?
I think, you know, so wow, this is, I think this is a fantastic question because see, when you're planning, you may, I always talk about livability. People always talk about livability of a city, or they say we want to make the cities livable. So when you
Yeah.
want to make a city livable, you talk about how much space should be dedicated to how many people. Like if you this is the density of population, then this should be the open space. This much quantity of water is required, for flushing, for this much electricity. So everything is quantified, right?
Yeah.
But I always profess that I want to make a city lovable. लिवेबल करने के लिए बहुत कुछ है, क्योंकि क्वांटम है, क्वांटिटेटिव measurements है. But to make a city lovable, what you need to do? You need to increase the ownership. And how will you increase the ownership? You will increase, people would want to feel safe. People would want to love the place. People would want to protect the space. And I think if that is possible, and that can only be possible if you do the right plant at the right space, give them the right kind of environment so that they feel safe, so that they feel loved, and they want to love what is around them. And that is going to decide your quality of life, not just by making a city livable. Our purpose, the mission of my company, is to make a city livable and make a city lovable. And for that, we
Interesting.
need
Yeah.
to definitely blend traditions and innovations, because as innovations come in and as we have newer technology, newer materials, we may grow very fast. We may construct a building in very short time, everything. But traditionally, who is going to occupy that space? What does that person feel? What are his values? Will that space give him those values? Will he be able to put a tulsi plant there? Just like an example I'm giving you.
Absolutely. Very good example.
Because all this is very, very important, right? Because culturally, okay, we have been worshippers of the nature around us. We pray to the sun god, we pray to the wind god, we pray to the river, we pray to the water, we pray to the plants, right? And everything is very scientific. So if that place has to be lovable, you have to give all these things to the new cities.
Right.
You have to treat them as ecosystems. Okay, I'd love to have buildings which are green. You can grow plants today vertically. You don't need horizontal space. Okay, because technology, somebody has invented a technology, but traditionally, those plants that can survive there will have to be grown, right?
Yeah.
Those plants today, people are growing herbs, right? They are growing herbs in vertical gardens, in balconies. You can harvest your own herbs, right from your lemongrass to your oregano to whatever, rosemary. I mean, thyme, you can grow your herbs there. You can grow
Correct.
coriander, for that matter, pudina,
Correct.
mint, right, on a vertical wall. So what have you done? Why do you want to grow there? Because you want to have the freshest of the leaves, right? So it's as simple as that. That's all. And we saw this in the COVID, right?
Yeah.
Saw people going back and trying to do this. We suddenly came across roads with peacocks, which we had
Yeah.
never seen before, right?
Correct.
We suddenly felt that everything around was so clear and nice.
Correct.
Now, that nature is giving you an indication what is required. That's it.
Correct. Superb. So Siddheshwar and Kabir, I hope that she has been able to answer your questions to, and you got the replies that you wanted. Okay, so a different question now. I mean, a little personal, or in that sense. So you're firing on all cylinders. I mean, you're doing all kinds of
You
things. I
say
mean, you're
so.
And how do you relax? I mean, do you get time to relax, or do you not relax at all? What do you do to relax? What do you do to recharge yourself? I mean,
So,
that's something that I ask all people like you who are extremely busy doing hundreds of things.
uh, no, I think if you have to be successful, you have to draw a line, and you have to keep your personal personal life separate from your professional life. If you merge the two, you will never be happy,
Correct.
right? Because you'll take all the woes back home. But at
Yeah.
home, you have your kids waiting for you, you have your parents waiting for you, and you want to do everything that will make them happy, right? Because you are responsible for them being in this world.
Correct.
So, yeah, so few things is I paint. I like to paint. And I like to drive. I was a ardent motorbike rider during
Okay.
my college days. I bought myself a motorbike out of the scholarship money that I had, and then I graduated to a transport vehicle because we lived in a space in an area which did not have roads, so we had to have a tempo kind of a thing to take us.
Okay.
So my first gadi was a yellow party gadi with my name on it. So
Okay.
I had a transport license, and transport license is different from the normal license. So I can drive a truck,
Okay.
bus, or whatever. So we go on road trips a lot. I think India is very beautiful, and every year we go on our road trips with both my children. And
Okay.
there are a lot of things that we can stop anywhere. We can see the different cultures. We can eat the different food. That is one thing that we like to do.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think a lot of things like that. I also walk. I do take my walks, and I love to read a lot. So nowadays I have started more on the audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
I find them
Yeah,
more,
walking and audiobooks typically go together. Yeah.
or even when I'm driving, sometimes if I'm alone, then I like to listen to something. Yeah.
Any advice to young business owners, or maybe who are actually not so young also, but how to consider becoming a networker? I mean, who better than an executive director of BNI to talk about business networking that business owners should do? Although you've you know spoken about that earlier, but if there's something more that you would like to say.
So the first advice is don't come out and join this network with any biases in mind. Come with a clean slate. Okay, somebody must have said something, that somebody must have had that experience. You are here, you have paid your fees to experience something on your own. So come with a clean slate because you will be able to do justice to yourself. Number one. Yeah.
Right.
Number two is we talk about networking, not net sitting or net eating or net breakfast taking, right? So you need to work on yourself. You are here to work. You are not here just to meet people, just to talk to people. No, you have to work on yourself, what you're talking, how you're talking, what is your posture, are you dressed well? Because human beings easily make judgments,
Yeah.
right? We are always being judged by somebody here and there, right?
Correct.
So a lot of people laugh over our meetings that we meet early in the morning, and they are breakfast meetings, and but people lose the essence to understand that isn't it a good habit to get up early in the morning? Isn't it nice that you're doing your business when your competitors are sleeping? I mean, isn't it great to meet such diverse people? And how many of your friends have ever asked you, how was your work day yesterday? Nobody wants to know. In fact, when we talk about our work, they say, "Arey, you're always talking about work." Or over here, you will find people who say, "Oh, tell me what happened to your project. Yeah?
Correct.
कल का दिन कैसे था? Arey, why? Is there something? Wait, let me help you." So there's always somebody here to help you.
Help.
And I
Yeah.
think as a as a platform, when you embrace any platform, any networking platform for that matter, it need not be just B. I'm a part of BNI, so I can speak for BNI. I think relationships matter the most. So, you and relationships can't be built by just coming for a meeting. Meeting is just a reporting day where you report what I've done last week. from
Correct.
last week meetings to this week's meeting, right? But when you come, you you have to study, you have to work on your own business if you're looking at your business, and you have to develop relationships. You
Yeah.
can't expect somebody to help you just because you're signed up for the membership, right?
Correct.
Somebody should feel for you, right? Somebody should want to help you. And for that, you need to work on your relationships and develop them. Trust me, guys, the business that I have done in the last so many years, I have never had a marketing team, or I never had, I mean, so many success stories that have come across us, you know. It's because today BNI, I mean, this networking platform is there in 79 countries, more than 3.5 lakh people. Imagine everywhere in the world you find somebody. I'm going to France now. I've already contacted somebody over there who's a part of PNI. I was in Atlanta. I already contacted somebody. I am now starting my business with that person in Atlanta. One needs to understand how to use this platform. And for networking, come with a clean slate and come as a student. You know everything, we know everything in our business, but there's still something that we don't know. But somebody else might be doing better. Even a small business owner like a home cook or a home chef or a baker may give us some tip that we can use in our business. Yeah. So always come with a mind to learn. Wherever you are, whenever you're networking with anybody, and always seem more interested than interesting. Okay, because
Very nice.
everybody wants to talk about their stories. Okay, lend them a ear, and understand. Make them feel comfortable. If they are comfortable, they will come back to you. Right? Just that.
Superb. 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 Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I learned so much in the last 2 minutes that, I mean, there's a lot of new learnings came along my way as well. So now, just, I mean, and I promise this is going to be the last question. I know it's more than an hour since we've been chatting. So, uh, a look into the future. How do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now? uh, what is it that you would like to manifest? So if let's say we're doing the same podcast 10 years later, what is it that you want to say I manifested then that has happened today? I mean, and on a serious note, I mean, what's your vision for your firm and for your profession, say in the next 5 to 10 years?
So, so when you think about steel, what name comes to your mind?
Tata Steel.
When you think about petroleum, what name comes to your mind?
Indian Idol.
Indian oil. When you think about builders or buildings, what names come to your mind?
Well, Lodha maybe,
When
or
you think about
Kalpataru.
when you think about environment, what name comes to your mind?
Aseem Gokarn.
So I
Yeah, I
think
understand what you mean.
there is a great dearth there. There's a huge scope, and I feel that that is the space I want to be. I'm looking forward to work in this area, and whatever knowledge I have because of my nature schooling or my experience, I would want to give it here, and want to develop. I mean, I want people to understand that there is somebody in environment here, and I think I want to fill in that space if possible.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, uh, Asim, thank you very much for your time. You've been a pioneer. I mean, many of the things that you've done, and I don't want to, say this only to flatter you, but and I wanted to say that in the beginning, but you said it yourself. Being a lady in what is typically a man's world is not easy, but you carved your path. You carved a niche. You, I'm sure, along the way, inspired a lot of people. So keep inspiring. Thank you for the time that you made. I know the pressures that you have on your time, and despite that, you made time available and was so open with your replies. Thank you very much, and
Thank
hope
you.
to meet you soon once again, whenever possible.
Thank you so much, Vipul. I really hope this conversation has added value to the audience, and that there can be some takeaways for them. And I wish everybody a great day and a great life ahead. Be happy and keep spreading the greens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.